What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. GSP has shared his thoughts on a potential Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall grudge match, and even he admits it's one of the toughest heavyweight fights to predict. For nearly 2 years, the UFC world waited for that unification bout. Jones claimed the vacant heavyweight title at UFC 285, while Aspinall earned the interim belt at UFC 295, setting the stage for an inevitable showdown. But injuries, delays, and Jones's lack of interest in granting Aspinall an undisputed title shot kept the matchup from ever becoming reality. Then, in 2024, Jones suffered an injury that pushed his fight with Stipe Miocic back, and by June of this year, he had stepped away from the sport, which seemed to put an end to the Aspinall rivalry altogether. Aspinall moved forward, but once the UFC announced plans for a White House event in June 2026, he immediately threw his name into the mix. Even though Jones initially targeted Alex Pereira for a possible comeback fight, just the mention of his return has kept hopes alive that he and Aspinall could finally settle their unfinished business. And if that fight ever becomes real, GSP appears to be leaning toward his former training partner, though he's still cautious with his pick. Speaking on a Kick broadcast with Adin Ross, GSP said it's extremely hard to call. In terms of accomplishments, nobody touches Jon Jones. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. But if the conversation is about who's the best right now, today, GSP believes Aspinall has a real argument. He's younger, he's faster, and before his recent setback, an eye gouge that halted his momentum, he was looking sharp in what GSP described as a very close and entertaining fight. Still, he added that you can never bet against Jon Jones. Even if he's older or past his prime, he remains an anomaly, a fighter who breaks every rule and expectation. Despite Jones' inactivity since 2020, his legacy at light heavyweight keeps him firmly in every pound-for-pound conversation. Right now, Islam Makhachev seems to lead that list, but champions like Ilia, Merab, Alexandre Pantoja, and Alex Pereira all deserve recognition. GSP, a two-division UFC legend himself, said Jones must always be part of that discussion, as long as he remains active. He also named Arman among the best today, and said a potential Jones versus Pereira fight at the White House would be massive, given Pereira's current dominance. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video, and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news. Just weeks out from UFC 324, Umar has officially been booked to face Deiveson Figueredo, and this matchup carries massive implications for the entire bantamweight division. If Umar gets the win, there will be no question about who deserves the next shot at Merab. He is the only fighter in recent memory who made a fight with Merab even remotely competitive, while everyone else has been steamrolled by the champion's relentless pace and pressure. Merab, fresh off another dominant victory over Corey Sandhagen, hasn't been shy about calling out Umar either. In a recent interview with Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo, he went straight at Umar, accusing him of being fake on social media and allowing other people to post tweets on his behalf. To Merab, this fight represents more than just rankings. It's personal. He said he would never let his manager, his friends, or even his own brothers tweet for him, because that wouldn't feel authentic. He felt disrespected when Umar's account posted comments he believed were not truly from Umar himself. Merab even said the part that bothered him most was being called a fake champion, something he took as a direct insult after working so hard to claim and defend his place at the top. Behind the scenes, there's tension, pride, and years of buildup between these two fighters. And this upcoming fight with Figueredo will decide whether Umar gets another chance to settle things inside the cage. For Umar, this isn't just another booking. This is the moment he gets to remind the world why he's one of the most dangerous rising contenders in the division. A win over a former flyweight champion like Figueredo would cement his status as the undeniable next challenger. It would prove he belongs on the biggest stage, that he's evolved, and that he's ready for the rematch with Merab that so many fans have been begging to see again. As for Figueredo, he's no easy opponent. His power, speed, and experience make him one of the toughest tests Umar has ever faced. But with everything on the line, respect, redemption, and a potential title shot, Umar steps into UFC 324 knowing he has everything to gain and nothing to hold back. Moving on to another news, Bisping has reacted to Paddy Pimblett getting an interim title shot against Justin Gaethje, a matchup that sent the entire MMA world into chaos the moment it was announced. As soon as the news dropped, outrage exploded online. Fans called it a robbery, a rankings disaster, and a straight-up punishment for Arman, who many believe has already earned undeniable #1 contender status. Instead of rewarding the fighter who has been grinding through the toughest matchups, the UFC went with star power. Paddy brings hype, Justin guarantees violence, and the storyline is easy to sell. Merit got pushed aside, and the situation mirrors what happened with Alex Volkanovski and Diego Lopes. Another case where heat and virality outweighed resume and consistency. To make things even worse for Arman, Dana confirmed that the winner of Justin versus Paddy will fight Ilia later in 2026. That means Arman, already frustrated after being snubbed, is forced into a long waiting period with no clear path back to the front. Pulling out of the Islam rematch cost him more than people realize. That was supposed to be his moment to cement himself, and instead, the division moved forward without him. Now, the interim fight is booked. The stakes are huge, and Arman is stuck on the sidelines while two of the most popular lightweights fight for a shot he feels he earned the hard way. Bisping broke down the situation and the matchup. He said that becoming an interim champion basically makes you the #1 contender. And if Paddy pulls this off, it would be unbelievable. It would add another champion to the growing list of UK fighters who have captured gold. Tom was promoted to full champion, and with Paddy winning an interim belt, it would bring even more momentum to the UK MMA scene. As for Justin, Bisping said this is his final run, his last chance, his final crack at the belt. He already had 2 title fights in the past, one against Charles and one against Khabib, and now he's facing Paddy in what might be the last big opportunity of his career. When analyzing the matchup, Bisping pointed out that this is clearly an easier stylistic fight for Justin compared to facing someone like Khabib or Islam, who many believe is surpassing his mentor as an all-time great. He questioned whether Paddy will even try to take Justin down, whether he will dance around the octagon, and whether he will try to replicate type of evasive game plan that Max Holloway used so well. But Bisping warned fans not to underestimate Paddy. Yes, Justin has knockout power. Yes, he is dangerous in every exchange, but Paddy has improved. He believes in himself, and in a chaotic fight, anything can happen. Moving on to another news, Volkanovski's coach says he's confused by the UFC's latest decision to run back Alex Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes. Their first fight was competitive, but not the kind of matchup that demanded an immediate rematch, especially when the featherweight division is loaded with elite contenders who have been grinding, winning, and making real claims for the belt. According to the coach, these days it feels less about who has earned the shot and more about who is trending, who is catching fire online, and who fans are talking about the most. A lot of fans believe the title fight should have gone to Movsar Evloev, the undefeated machine who has been sitting near the top waiting for his moment, or to Lerone Murphy, who finally broke through with the biggest wins of his career and became one of the division's most deserving contenders. Instead, the UFC chose a different direction. Some fans even built the narrative that the UFC might be trying to push Volkanovski out of the picture by giving him knockout artists back-to-back. Lerone Murphy didn't stay quiet either. He went off on Twitter, frustrated about being passed up for a title shot, and even joked that he will fight every month in 2026 just out of anger. Meanwhile, Volkanovski's coach explained why this rematch won't look anything like their first encounter. He said Alex is coming into this fight with a completely different mindset. In the last fight, Volkanovski had a lot of doubt, a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and he was still trying to prove to everyone, maybe even to himself, that he was still the same fighter after those tough losses. That kind of pressure affects everything: the training, the mental prep, and even the way you step into the cage. This time, according to the coach, Alex feels like the old version of himself again. He's calmer in training, not putting the same weight of expectation on his back, and not trying to convince anyone that he still has it. He already knows he does. The coach said that change alone will make a huge difference in how Alex performs. Then he wondered what kind of adjustments Diego Lopes will bring. In the first fight, Volkanovski took him down in the opening round and controlled him heavily. The coach said he's not sure Diego will want to go to the ground again after experiencing how strong Alex was there. He believes Diego will need a new approach because the same strategy won't work twice, especially with a more confident, calmer, and sharper Alex in front of him this time. Moving on to another news. Diego Lopes has delivered a sharp message to fellow featherweights after backlash over his unexpected UFC 325 title fight rematch with Alexander Volkanovski. Despite criticism coming from several top contenders, Lopes appears completely unfazed, even amused by the noise surrounding his return to a championship stage. UFC CEO Dana White confirmed that Lopes will challenge Volkanovski on January 31st in Sydney, a booking that surprised many, considering the champion already defeated Lopes at UFC 314 this past April. Still, Lopes surged back into the spotlight with a spectacular knockout win over Gene Silva at Noche UFC 3, and he now finds himself right back in the title conversation. The announcement, however, didn't sit well with top contenders Lerone Murphy and Aljamain Sterling. Murphy, still undefeated after 18 professional bouts and coming off a highlight reel knockout of former Bellator standout Aaron Pico, expressed frustration by saying the sport is becoming more about popularity than true rankings. Sterling, who recently dominated Brian Ortega in a one-sided decision, also questioned the matchmaking decisions coming out of the UFC. Both fighters clearly felt overlooked, believing they had earned a more legitimate claim to the next title shot. On Friday, Lopes fired back through social media with a message that instantly caught attention. Posting a photo with a playful smirk, he wrote, "My face when I saw everyone crying." He didn't stop there, adding, "Sitting around? He won't give you a title fight. Get to work and stop whining on social media." Lopes' comments were especially pointed towards certain fighters who, in his view, haven't stayed active enough to justify complaints. His jab at Movsar Evloev, who owns a win over Sterling but hasn't fought at all in 2025, carried some weight. But the criticism doesn't align as neatly when it comes to Murphy and Sterling, who both fought as recently as August, just 1 month before Lopes' knockout at Noche UFC. Even so, Lopes made it clear he's not interested in arguments, only opportunities. Meanwhile, Evloev has already called for a fight with Murphy to determine the next rightful title challenger. Murphy, however, appears ready to push forward rather than stay stuck in the debate. As the title picture continues shifting, one thing is certain: Lopes is fully embracing the moment, brushing off criticism and stepping boldly into another championship showdown. Moving on to another news, Ilia is now facing a massive lawsuit that could reshape his entire life. The 28-year-old Georgian star is caught in a messy divorce and custody battle with his wife, Georgina Bedell, whom he married back in 2022. The two share a young son and daughter, and according to reports from Spanish media earlier this month, Bedell is seeking 50% of Ilia's estimated $10 to $15 million net worth. That amount comes from UFC paydays, endorsements, and several major sponsorship deals he secured during his rapid rise in the sport. Things became even more complicated when claims surfaced that Ilia had messaged other women, something Bedell is reportedly using in court to strengthen her position in the custody fight. The timing could not be worse for Ilia's career. On November 27th, he officially announced that he would step aside for a while, focusing on his children and resolving the situation privately, rather than letting it spill further into the public eye. He also made sure that the UFC's lightweight division wouldn't stall while he deals with everything, which opened the door for Justin and Patty to compete for the interim title at UFC 324 in January. Across social media, MMA fans and fighters have rallied behind Ilia. Max Holloway and several others sent him messages of support as he tries to navigate the pressure of being a world-class athlete while dealing with one of the most difficult personal challenges anyone can face. Between the octagon, legal hearings, and the responsibility of being a father, Ilia now has more on his plate than ever before. How he handles these two battles, the one inside the cage and the one inside the courtroom, is something the entire MMA world is watching closely. Ilia himself hasn't spoken much about the lawsuit. Aside from a tweet and a brief interview with a Georgian journalist a few weeks ago, he's kept things private. In that interview, he acknowledged the divorce and admitted it was a difficult moment in his life, but he didn't reveal any legal details or financial information at the time. For now, all fans know is that Ilia is stepping away to protect his family, stay focused on his children, and try to regain control of a situation that has spiraled into something far larger than anyone expected.